Hello, hello, and welcome to Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. One of these days I will give a smooth intro, I promise. I have a little phlegm in the back of my throat there. Cheers. How you guys doing tonight, or this afternoon, I should say?
Fantastic.
Right on, right on. So glad to be back. We're doing the show a little bit earlier today on account of me and my schedule, and I really appreciate, Brian, you coming on earlier. I know you've been busy with class and everything all day, so. Oh, Alex just pasted the chat. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, the YouTube chat is bumping. People are happy to see the show back.
That's trouble. So in case you're new here, my name is William Kale, part of Coinigy.com. We do this show. It used to be bi-weekly or every other week, however you say that. We've been doing them a little bit more sparsely lately just due to workloads, but we got the band back together today, and we're happy to all be here for you. I'll kick it off to Alex.
Oh yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alex Stirk. I do a YouTube show kind of sparsely as well right now with called Block Talk. I just did an interview yesterday with Decent DCT. And yeah, I also help run an altcoin project called Ubex. So yeah, it's always good to come on the show here and chat a little bit of the fundamentals and the technicals of some of these cool projects that are going on, and just kind of talk about the industry altogether. Maybe I'll pass it on to Dav here.
Sorry, I'm doing the intro a little differently. Passing. Go ahead, Dav.
Okay, thank you. My name is Da Vinci. I'm an altcoin trader, little old lady trader. I've done extremely well doing a little old lady style of trading, which we will get into that, explaining what that is later on in the show. And I also run DaVinciCodes.net because I'm working on a software program called Pandora's Wallet, which is going to be a large wallet, a multi-wallet, which is going to have a lot of different cryptocurrencies so that you can actually take them off the exchanges and then only send them to the exchanges when you need to make the trade. They'll do this automatically through the API as best as they can, of course, because there's going to be a lot of problems with of course, integrating with different exchanges, but we'll do our best as we go along.
Good deal, good deal. And last but not least, should I give him an introduction? He doesn't need one.
Loudmouth son of a bitch. Who seems to be slightly opinionated. I don't know. Hi, everybody. The boys encouraged me to have a beer because I just got out of class and my voice is a bit harsh. So maybe it's the alcohol talking, right? Hello, everyone. Nice to see you all again.
I see it too, Brian.
Right on, right on. So, well, I guess I'll kick it off. Everybody that has kind of been following the Coinigy Binance issues, in case you haven't seen that latest blog post we put out today, I'll give you kind of the Cliff Notes version of what's going on with Binance. So we had contacted kind of one of the higher ups at Binance. I want to say maybe about 2 months ago now, to talk about getting our IPs whitelisted, meaning we could send basically an unlimited amount of API calls onto Binance, on behalf of our users. So whenever you place a trade, cancel a trade, check your balances, yada yada, you're placing an API call through Coinigy servers onto Binance. And they were agreeable to that. They implemented a whitelist, so we went ahead and then we, actually spent quite a bit of time building out trading integration with Binance. Things were going relatively well for a short period of time. Unfortunately, the way that the Binance API is built, it really requires us to make an excess of API calls, which we really kind of hate, but we worked around it as best as we could. It caused some issues, like we're not able to really accurately pick up orders that were placed in the past or not placed through Coinigy. We expressed that, to them, and they kind of didn't really give us a straight answer as to like, hey, we're working on improvements or anything, but we assume they're working on improvements. And then recently, within the last 2 weeks, Binance had an issue where tons and tons of people were being phished, and some hackers got into accounts on Binance, and they created API keys on those users' accounts. And then they executed kind of in one swift move. They traded a bunch of like, what was it? Like Viacoin and a bunch of basically, low volume coins into each other and then tried to withdraw those coins. Binance luckily caught on to it and they ended up blocking their withdrawals. However, we kind of suffered due to that because I think kind of as a reactionary thing, due to them not really, when they were doing their forensic investigation, they must have disabled our IP whitelisting. And even though Coinigy had absolutely nothing to do with their issues whatsoever, in fact, we have a ton of data that potentially could be helpful to them to help kind of diagnose their issues and track their hackers down and all that kind of stuff. But they basically cut us off, and we contacted them. We've contacted them several times, and we're basically getting just a single reply and nothing else. So, we gave them the heads up, hey, we're making this blog post, and we're going to basically be, unfortunately, dropping Binance trading until further notice, until we hear back from them, until we're able to reach some kind of conclusion here. So it's unfortunate, it affects many thousands of users, but we have to kind of make the executive decision here to just say, hey, if they're not willing to play ball with us, then, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Our hands are tied. So those of you who have kind of been trying to trade on Binance or Coinigy, within the last couple of weeks, it's been obviously quite the nightmare. And, we're still going to leave balance updates available because that kind of happens more infrequently. But it's still going to be kind of at your own risk type of thing to actually do balance updates. There's no guarantee that they'll go through. But as far as trading, it's just causing way too many headaches. So,
yeah.
So that's
can I ask a question about that?
Yes, sir, you can.
Oh, actually, so I noticed that Binance also has a whitelist option for your IPs for API. So
Yes.
Can we enter in your IP addresses and
Yes.
Through that system as well? But you're still going to disable the trading, no?
Yeah, so that's a whitelist. That's kind of a different whitelist. So a lot of exchanges offer that, like Poloniex, and we've been pushing for that forever. We post our IPs publicly on Coinigy. So when you're adding an account, there's a little button that says IP whitelist settings. When you click on that, we show you all of our IP addresses for you to
maybe
enter.
we should show people that button so that it's clear.
Does Brian or anybody have my screen?
I have my screen up.
If you want to do that, just go to the accounts page.
I wonder if I should actually.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to do that.
I shouldn't do that.
It's pretty obvious. I mean, if you click Add Exchange Account, everyone knows where that is, basically. It's on the dialog that pops up. It says IP whitelist settings.
Okay.
So, and that'll show you all of the Coinigy IPs. You can put those into whichever exchange you're trading on. But what that means is only requests made from those IPs will work on your API key. So that's something different entirely. We're talking about a global whitelist on our server IPs through Binance's API. So this is more on like a global level. So, we have encouraged people to add our IPs there, but that's not going to unfortunately solve anything. It's better from a security standpoint. But anyways, well, somebody's saying we only care what Brian has to say. So
what?
That's harsh.
Man, we're so popular. We just have trolls in here now, I tell you.
Hey, Alex doesn't want to hear what I have to say. Alex wants John Bollinger in here, right?
Oh, hey, if John wants to come on the show, that's great. He might have some commentary. But
Brian,
I don't know.
He's following you now, right, or something? Aren't you?
Yeah. I was just sending him some DMs about the show. I think he expressed some interest, but we'll have to coordinate another time. He might come on.
Mhm.
We'll see.
Well, you're at it, Alex. See if you can get Vitalik to come on too.
Oh man, I'm not a miracle worker. God, I don't hear back from him anymore. He's too popular for me. But I'm gonna be at EdCon in Toronto in May, and he's gonna be there. So maybe I'll get a chance for a photo op or something.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. It'll be one of the better conferences. The Coinergy team, are you guys going to Consensus in New York?
Yeah, we are. So we're finally coming out from under our rock. We're going to be at Consensus. I don't know if I'll be there. I know Coinergy, some of us will be there. I'm still trying to decide. I kind of hate conferences. So
yeah, they're starting to wear on me
in my day, but
I'm
we'll
planning
see.
on being at that one too.
No, it's cool to see. There was a conference where Draper was talking, and then right after him was Alex. I thought that was kind of fun.
Where was that?
It was
That's
in
a
Vancouver,
big
wasn't it?
deal.
Didn't you say? Wasn't it like a Canaccord conference or something?
I wasn't speaking, but I was recording. Yeah, Canaccord did a blockchain investor day where they were talking about all their registered kind of investments and traditional kind of stock offerings for blockchain companies. So they had a couple mining firms, a couple exchanges that all trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So they were getting their shill game on for their investors.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had Draper
It's funny,
coming out to speak.
there was one guy I actually did a mining deal with about 10, 15 years ago. And I saw, all these old VSC promoter dudes. They're all jumping all over this shit, right? And he actually took one of his little shells that I would have bought because it meets all my venture cap model screening criteria. And he actually vended in a crypto mining play into the deal. But that was hilarious, right? So you could totally tell the stock market guys, they're all like, they're just like salivating, right? They're just chomping at the bit here.
Oh yeah, seems like an easy play for a mining company to pivot to this new form of mining. That's what Hive Blockchain is doing. They're a traditional mining firm, and now they've invested in a crypto mine in Iceland. So yeah, it's kind of one of the more.
Yeah, he was like parlaying, and they just go and they raise like $1 million, $2 million just like that, right? So he's like, all right, we're going to go and buy like 5,000 mining rigs and we're just going to fucking own this thing. And it's just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that side of the business is growing up, man. We have like this, I don't know if you guys have been following the whole Foxconn stuff, has been like negotiating with the Wisconsin governor and all this crap. But I think it's potentially going to go through, and just south of us here, they're kind of calling it like the Foxconn corridor. And there's rumors that a major mining facility might be opening here, which I don't understand how it's even economical. But
it is right now in the States and most places around the world is economical to mine. What's
the easiest solution there?
What happens when the price goes down to below 5,000? Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Then they're screwed.
Yep. Yeah, so it blows my mind. I'm hearing rumors, it's kind of interesting just hearing that's going to be potentially 30 miles away from me. I might have to go pay a visit or something. Maybe we'll do an on-the-spot show or on-premise.
I'm sure you'll hear the fans from 30 miles away.
Yeah, somebody said they're looking to kind of do like, the storage pods and turn those into, just let air flow through them. I guess in the winter I could understand because, the colder the air, the fine, you can just kind of open it to the elements and just provide circulation. But anyways, in the summers are pretty brutal here. So
what's the cost of electricity in your neighborhood?
I know it's not the cheapest. I mean, we're not on hydro or anything like that. So I couldn't tell you what the kilowatt.
Is there like nuclear power? Is there like nuclear
we have some. I don't know what percentage that accounts for around here. But there is a nuclear power plant. I think maybe it is pretty close to where they're opening up.
I remember a couple of years ago. Remember we used to joke about the Russians turning old nuclear subs into mining rigs.
I wouldn't be surprised as long as they're watertight, man.
Nuclear subs into mining. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, right? I mean, you got old like attack subs and stuff just sitting there rusting. Might as well put them to use.
That would actually work.
Sure, why not? and now Monks has got these satellites, right, for internet satellite coverage. So you don't even need landline connections to be connected to the internet anymore.
Someone just said.
We should try and go. Like Canada went and bought an old nuclear sub off of the Brits, and just got totally hoodwinked. Just totally taken advantage of. Really? That would be kind of a cool project to see if we could buy like an old beat up nuclear sub and turn it into a massive mining rig. That'd be hilarious.
I know.
Just irradiate everyone on accident.
I suppose Gav is rich enough to be able to afford one, eh?
Yeah, not quite.
Off the coast of Chile.
Our little despot.
When are you going to be bailing out Venezuela? Were you buying the Petrocoin?
Yeah.
We'll know when we get the periscope sound, though.
Point me to the exchange that the Petrocoin's on. I'll trade it. Because I don't hate it. I just trade it.
There you go. Show me a Davo, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, did you guys see the John Oliver bit on Bitcoin?
Wow, that was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
Very well done, yeah.
I guess I just saw the news that like Brock Pierce has severed ties with EOS or something.
Oh, really?
They dropped him or something like that. That's all I heard. I don't know anything else, but
I'll have to look into that. Yeah,
they didn't paint him in the greatest.
I didn't see the end of it. It got cut off. The video that I saw, it got cut off just as he was getting into altcoins. So I didn't see his rant on alts.
So you missed out on the Hodl gang. You guys want to be in the Hodl gang?
That was good. I like that one. Gang. I've never heard that video.
Oh, it's a running trend around here now. Like people are saying it everywhere. Like it's the new theme song of the space here. Everyone's in the Hodl gang.
You know what? I honestly think that's stupid. An accidental misspelling became a meme. How did that happen?
Once I started working in I think I mentioned this on the last show, but I started finally watching CNBC just for the laughs. And when you see the talking heads telling you to hodl, I mean, it's like I'm spitting out my coke over here. I can't believe that is.
I gotta say, man, those puppets, I really didn't expect them to be such mindless dorks. I'm actually quite surprised that these quote unquote financial journalism professionals have been played so badly by the crypto people. You know, like Roger Ver, the way that he played them, that was embarrassing.
Oh man! Well, because those people on TV are just talking heads. They're like, they'll tell you the opposite thing to do, right? So I mean, you really don't listen to CNBC. I mean, unless you want to know what the top is.
Let me see where my Ripple short is at. Last time I checked it, I was at like 1,200% because as soon as I saw a CNBC story, I'm like, all right, time to open a short on Ripple.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, still 1,242%.
I feel badly because, you know, like I don't quite understand how people could come into this space and how they can't even do the research to understand the difference between Ripple and something like Bitcoin. They don't even understand the difference between them.
Or a token and a coin. Like this is a conversation I've been having a lot with people of just trying to explain, like, you know, there's underlying networks and then there's like a token, which is like 40 lines of copy pasted code.
Right.
So the ease of creating your own blockchain based asset has gone down in the last 18 months, and that has just caused like a huge surge in people creating their own tokens or their own coins to sell. Like before that, it was like you could tell which coins are really shitty because they all use the same how-to guide that had you offering 2012 Bitcoin code, so you could tell which version of Bitcoin code they were using. Was a good way to indicate if they used that guide or not.
Yeah, I think the key barometer is like once the affiliate marketers start creating their own ICOs, you know, it's going to start becoming a little harder to discern. I mean, just from that kind of, you know, I have a group of buddies that I talked to from way back in the day, just doing affiliate marketing and that kind of stuff, and extremely savvy people. But, you know, when they start launching coins, I'm just like, oh my God, get me out of this. Like, you got to be kidding me. But
yeah, that's why I like the Oliver piece was very good and cautionary. Like it was very good. It wasn't all negative, but it was very good at explaining of, you know, there's a lot of people that are just out there to take your money.
Right. Well, hopefully, you know, I hate to say hopefully because I'm not really definitely not pro regulation just in general, but the SEC at least kind of weeding out and instilling a little bit of fear in folks from just straight up scamming, I think is only going to be a good thing. But
yeah,
who knows?
I think so too. I'd agree with that.
Anyways, should we get the show moving on to some? Brian, do you have it in you?
Oh man, this Bitcoin chart does not look pretty right now.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the one thing that I would suggest the public, and these guys are going to be like, "Whoa, thanks for the shout out, Brian," but I'm a really big fan of. I used to watch these guys when I was trading stocks quite a bit.
Which guys?
These guys here. These are the Foundation for the Study of Cycles, and I'm a really big fan of cycles. And they painted into the peak. This was their cycle forecast. And then as price has developed here, their cycle analysis has slightly changed. But on balance, the roadmap has been fairly accurate. And unfortunately, guys, you know, we're right about here right now in their cycle analysis. So it's still, you know, and I've been telling our community.
So the rebound.
It's going to be a couple nasty months ahead of us. You know?
What does that say? June? At least according to
yeah, actually, and it's interesting because Bitcoin does like to pivot into the spring. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next couple months are going to be pretty tough, for lack of a better term. I think, you know, like for the traders, and I love, you know, like I was tweeting out today, you know, like, and this is, you know, Brian's 30 years in the market. When I first came into the crypto space, clowns like this were all over the place. And for some reason, this idiot believed that he was like invincible, believed that they're untouchable, that they can do anything they want. And now, Big Brother, right? All they're talking about is how do we get rid of idiots like this. So, you know, it doesn't surprise me. Nobody in this audience watching this video, as long as people like this still exist in this space, then, you know, the government people, the SEC guy, they're going to shit on this space. And that's what I think is going on right now is you got to get rid of people like this. You know, like we just a few minutes ago, we talked a little bit about how, well, you know, maybe they're going to take the time and clean up the ICO market and it's going to be so fraudulent and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, it's just a function of we have to get rid of people like this from the space. I just wanted to have that on the screen just to remind everybody, this is why the U.S. government and that SEC guy, it's people like this that basically give crypto a bad name. The interesting thing is, you know, Alex, Dav, Will, myself, we aren't these people. In fact, Alex tried to have a realistic conversation with this guy, and it just turned into a disaster. So, you know, as soon as we can get rid of this kind of stuff from crypto, then I think we can move on to the next stage. And I think that the market is going through the process of getting rid of this nonsense. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. And, you know, I was, you know, we all watched the Senate hearings and stuff this morning. I think it was the U.S. House of Representatives. And I thought it was hilarious. Did you guys notice this guy? Did you see Cobain? He put this picture out. I don't know whether Cobain doctored this picture or not, but isn't that funny? Look at this guy up here.
There's always one goofball in the background.
Yeah.
Hilarious. And I was and this guy here, I totally thought this guy was going to hold up a buy Bitcoin sign. I totally thought he was. I don't know who he is. But anyway, all these people, and it's so funny, right? They're out. Look at them all looking at their social, their Twitters and their Facebooks and stuff. Anyway, so, and I actually mentioned when I listened to this conference this morning, and if I'm not mistaken, this guy's a Canadian, isn't he? Is the Van Valvon? Anyway, when I listen to all these guys, this guy's like lawyer. But this guy here, man, he is super smart.
I know. I noticed that.
Pardon?
The only guy that wasn't intimidated by the all the what's it called, the congressmen and stuff.
Yeah, totally. Didn't back down an inch. I was really impressed with that guy. But anyway, so the point here is, and there was what I noticed too, and if you want to watch for this over the next little while, right? I noticed they're like assigning, okay, one politician, you be the good cop, and so we'll kiss their ass. And then one politician, okay, you be the bad cop. And he's a total dick, right? So I saw that happen in this. I saw that happen in the last government conference back in when we saw that bottom. I kind of think, and this is the message I've been giving to my audience, I was a little surprised at this, but maybe this is the catalyst to get it going here. But, like the issue here is, do we have any sort of big conferences, world conferences, and are they planning on talking about crypto coming up? And yeah, we've got the big G20 conference. That's right.
Where is that being held this year? Which city is getting destroyed?
I think it's down somewhere in South America, if I'm not mistaken. Dav, isn't it down in your neck of the woods?
I'm not sure, actually. I wasn't paying attention to that news article.
The U.S. Treasury Secretary, he's asked for cryptocurrencies to be on the agenda. And the IMF head, Lagarde, she's basically declared war on crypto. So my feeling is I personally, and this is just personal opinion, but I personally thought you can't really have Bitcoin rallying into that event, because if you did, then it would give all the G20 ministers and all that shit lots of ammunition to just shit all over this space. If anything, what you kind of want is you want price to be very weak into that event. So everybody at the event goes, all right, well, look they're on their knees. We have to be supportive of this space. Does everybody remember Bitcoin Dad at the U.S. SEC, CFTC hearings in front of the Senate? And everybody sort of fell in love with Bitcoin Dad, and the price bottomed and it rallied up. Well, I got my feeling, 20, 30 years into this game, that's what I think is sort of happening here. And really, guys, anybody looking at the price chart, I mean, it should be as plain as day. We had this happen up top. Is there anything we're supposed to, look for? Be wary of if we ever see the market smiling at us?
Yep.
And anybody who's watching this for the first time, they've never heard Brian's rants before, if you ever see the market smiling at you, it's getting ready to take your money. It's just simple as that. So, anybody looking at this should be like, all right, this is pretty straightforward. We went through an insane face rip up. The irony of it all is all four of us completely understand that these kind of prices, $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, $18,000, I mean, this is a little bit nuts, considering what we all know, the cost of production. And even Mr. McAfee told us his cost of production just last year was like, I think he said like $1,000, right? Maybe that's moved up a bit. I don't know. I thought it was interesting last summer, Goldman Sachs came out with the big buy for all its clients at like $2,000, $3,000 a coin. And sort of our site hypothesis is that they were behind the pump. There was lots of anecdotal talk. Regulators were asked, why are they pushing CFTC listings? Why is Bitcoin listed on the Chicago Board Options Exchange? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. There's a whole bunch of really smelly stuff going on here. And there was a classic line, I think it was right about here. One of the regulators was pressed, why the urgency? Why the urgency? And they said, well, quote unquote, our hands are tied. Now, who ties regulators' hands? Who's the boss of regulators? There's only one person who has that kind of power to tie regulators' hands. We all know who that is. So I'm wondering whether a lot of this move was just complete bullshit, which is sad. And it's capitalism. Remember, guys, an unregulated market, unregulated.
Yep.
They can do any old fucking thing they want right now. And considering who we know pounded the table to buy, and we know our hands are tied, there's only one person who can force a national regulator to say something like that. My hunch is this was manufactured to meet someone's very specific desires. So once the CME product was listed and those that wanted to sell at these wonderful prices had the opportunity to sell at these prices, boom, 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 in goes the top. Buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, the irony of it all, guys, is this is pretty darn cliche stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from now? The worst part about all this is this actually reminds me a lot of 2014. If we go back to that market, it was interesting because Julian and I actually started this company right. That's right here. And, you know, a lot of similarities, big dump, big counter trend rally. In this particular case, we went sideways for a while, kind of cleaned up the oversoldness. And then we headed into the meat grinder. And this meat grinder was tough. We had a couple new original students in the program, and a couple of them lost it through here. And the sad part about it is that's what we sort of need to see in this space to know that, quote unquote, the bottom is in. Is we got to, I mean, it sucks. It's trading. It's capitalism. I'm starting to see the smatterings of it. People are putting out tweets. Oh, my positions are down 80%, 90%. I'm getting totally wrecked, right? We're starting to see this, but I don't think we're there yet. And ironically enough, if we actually go back to today and we say, okay, well, you know, Dav knows. Dav, what's my line in the sand? What's that number that I love to look for in correction?
78.6.
Right. So 78, let's call it 80% just for simplicity. Right. If we go off of the ultimate low, you can start to see that original Goldman Sachs, this is the bottom kind of thing. Everybody load up. This is sitting $4,000. You know, it all depends on what low you use. 88.6 is 2,300. It's interesting on the site. We have one gentleman in particular who's just an awesome gap hunter. He's just evil. And we put out on Twitter and stuff. He's just in there trading up a storm, just trading gaps and just having a great old time. And it turns out there's gaps down here at about 2,300 as well. So what a shock. That would be basically 80% off of the top, 78.6, whatever you want to call it. Nice gaps. And, of course, that would be right back down to Mr. Goldman Sachs's reversal low here, right? And I really like to find these sort of really powerful reversal candles. That's a nice inverted empire. I think we also had, maybe not off of this chart. That's not a bad railroad chart. It's a little bit of a tail there, though. But, you know, if I was going to be looking for key support for this market to actually sort of stabilize at, I'm thinking, you know, down in this area is not bad. And it's interesting how earlier we were joking a little bit about, you know, like it's almost laughable. All of these companies and all these people are coming into the business to mine Bitcoin. This is exactly the same conversation I remember we had back in 2013, 2014. Everybody and their brother was getting into the business of mining Bitcoins. And as a result, how do you basically solve that? Have you guys ever heard me say, what's the number one best cure for high prices?
Higher prices.
High prices. That's right. Why? And in this case, it makes perfect sense. Everybody and their brother is going to go and buy like AMD graphics cards and shit and go into the business of mining Bitcoins. And so what ends up happening is a whole shitload of people come into the space. It drives the price down. And then all of those marginal players will be slowly liquidated out of the market. So it's so cliche, guys. And anybody who's watching this video, please understand, I don't see anything new here. This is so cliche. It's ridiculous. But the problem is of course the public, and you know our old rules. If anything, half of the reason why I want to talk to you guys is we just have to force ourselves. We are not allowed to buy assets up, at or above reload zones. We all see where the reload zone is here. And you just, if you are in that situation, and trust me, I mean, like I teach hundreds and hundreds of people. It's probably in the thousands now. And every single one of them, it was like pulling fucking teeth to get people not to buy in here. And I just have to keep saying, you know where the reload zone is. You know where it is. And I mean, I had to get people are like, come on, I got to buy. And it's like, okay, well, fine. Go in and average your way in. Maybe buy a little bit once a month over the next year or something. And then, hopefully those people that did that, they have been well served. And at least they have a half decent average.
Brian, someone in chat just said this time is different.
Oh,
Oh no!
No, they said JK afterwards, but
The funny thing about like this reoccurring story is this story of the Mt. Gox creditor, the guy who bought the Mt. Gox thing. So he's not allowed to touch his coins and sell them apparently until September. October is the 4th anniversary of the bear whale. For those who don't know, in 2014 October, a gentleman sold 30,000 bitcoins at a $300 price. Like it was a wall that was getting chomped for a solid 20 hours. So
yeah, do you remember that? And the market just kept working his offer, and everybody was going, man, as soon as the market goes through this order, it's over. This fucking thing's going straight up. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like we did kind of rally slightly after that, but then we just dumped hard. Yeah.
Anyway, I seem to, maybe that was a different gentleman, but I seem to remember there was one guy who was like a total rage quit, and he was like, I want to get out. And literally as soon as all of his coins were sold, the market just took off higher after that. But I must be thinking about a different guy.
Yeah, no, the bear whale is one of those iconic things. There's even a picture of a mural of the bear whale on the wall out here. But yeah.
You made reference to that with your Ripple trade, eh?
Did I? The bear whale?
Wasn't it? Anyway, it's here nor there. Yeah. All right, so what do we see going forward in the short term? Well, I mean, you can see where, smart money, I think, is going to be looking to be a buyer.
Yeah, there's one thing about that I wanted to point out is that that's true. Smart money is going to be buying down there, but we're telling people that's where you should be buying, but they don't understand that that's not going to happen tomorrow. That's not going to happen next month. Yeah. It might take quite some time for price to get down there.
2 months.
2 months? You really think so?
Yeah. I mean, hell, you got a nice bear ABCD that's going to take us against these lows here. And wow. I think what ends up happening is we flush these lows into this March 20th. And we'll put in some sort of reactionary low, nice little counter trend rally. Full disclosure, just everybody should be aware, I do have bids working at about 5,100 against this low here as a trade, because I think I'll be happy to be a buyer against that level. Wicks and tails like to be eaten, all that kind of talk, and if we do, and really, actually, this is cool because it sets up a nice little short-term trade. I might even have it on here. Do I? Yeah, there it is. So this is actually this is actually the setup that got me funded as a crude oil prop trader, the BATT, and you can see the BATT actually fires a sell signal here at 8,900, and in the short term, it's actually looking for 6,100. It's at its move stop to scratch level hit here. So absolute worst case scenario for bot traders is they'll just walk away at scratch, but I think they're in a pretty powerful position right now. You know, if you just look at this AB equals CD, you can see how the market's just going to stair step its way lower here. And what was really interesting, and I actually found it a little bit, I don't know whether it was amusing or whether it was, you know, maybe even partially confusing, but I was actually quite surprised that so many people on Twitter and stuff were as bullish as they were through here. I actually saw like people that I think are relatively respected in the space, even in the face of this M. I mean, M's are M's are M's. Remember what I told you guys just a minute ago about the M?
I think it's just a really hard thing to accept for people, you know. I mean,
you see this M?
We're down such a high percentage, you know. It's really hard for true believers to accept that. You know, every time it drops, buy the dip, yada yada.
Well, you know, but here's the thing, Will. This is what really bugs me about this. If we were sitting here even this time last year, where was this time last year? March. Here we are here. This time last year, Bitcoin was sitting under $1,000.
Yeah, which
1 year ago. 1 year. And the
yeah,
worst part
we
about
were
this
fighting
is
for 1,000. We were like, oh my god, I hope we hit 1,000. Oh, we just hit 1,200. This is great.
okay, so the point here is that anybody who's underwater right now, they obviously came way, way, way late to the party. And, you know, like McAfee, $1,000 cost to produce. My feeling, for whatever it's worth, is that true Bitcoin aficionados, people who really understand this space, they almost giggle when they hear people talk about these cryptocurrencies and quote unquote value right here. This is even at $8,000. This is still laughable in my opinion. But the point here is that most of the people that are long and are hoping for higher prices, they probably bought all through this here. And they're getting their heads handed to them. I mean, that's capitalism for you. It's really no difference. So how quickly does this unwind? You know, based on our cycle, guys, I'm thinking, oh, did I lose my cycle chart? Darn, that's such a nice chart. Oh, well, oh, there it is. Based on our cycle, guys, they're looking for just a nice little ski slope into the spring. And the interesting thing here, like with Alex wanting Mr. Bollinger to come on the show, is hopefully you guys can see what should end up happening is if we do get this sort of basing period here, Mr. Bollinger's bands are going to contract, volatility is going to come out of the price, and that's when we might start seeing reversal signs. Yeah, I feel very comfortable with that. That's really nothing shocking here. And like I said, the worst part about all this is like less than a year ago, we were under you know, the irony of it all is we're still 10x from where we were about a year ago.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning too that even if we're in a bear market and even for an extended period of time, there's still trading opportunities out there. I mean, alts are still all over the place, you know.
Tons, they're beautiful, like this one right here. I was looking at somebody in the school pointed this out, and I love these kind of scenarios because in essence you can see the money is flowing into this name, not flowing out. Money is flowing into this name, and talk about a freaking trade location. Beautiful stuff, and there are so many coins that look like this. It's stunning. The problem here is, do you value this trade in Bitcoin? Is this a function of Blitz becoming so much more valuable? Or is this a function of Bitcoin coming off? That's, you know, I would recommend people who are interested in putting new money into the space, maybe go and take a look at your coin versus US dollars. And just to, you know, reconfirm that indeed this is a base, right? A lot of the pot coins, they look fabulous here. And we're heading right into a nice big catalyst date for them. A lot of the special story coins like Geo. Is Geo now on the UBIC? Is it like now a UBIC token now?
Yeah, that is correct. We have got the swap fully completed and things switched over. So Geo is 100% a UBIC token now.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Oh, look at that.
I mean, I'm not necessarily, like yesterday I put a tweet out saying, this looks pretty good. I mean, yeah, maybe it could waffle here a little bit here, but really on balance, I don't have a problem. We run a portfolio called Nanny Nibbles. And it's just specifically designed for people who don't want to be staring at the screen 24/7. That want to be invested in the space, and they just simply want to go and buy names at appropriate locations. I don't have a problem with any of our little old ladies going and taking a little nibble off of this name here. Could it swim around here for a few months? Sure. But you're not walking into a trap buying tops of markets. But this is just another, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Like one coin that I'm so close to getting a fill on, it's driving me nuts, is Potcoin. Here's a, everybody who's watching this video, this is such a simple way to play the market. You're going to draw your fib levels, reload zones, all that kind of stuff. You heard me talk about this lots. Then you're going to try and line up those levels with holes on the charts, or what we call gaps. And you can see this thing's just flirting with me, and it wants, we have a whole bunch of people on the site who are bidding on this thing down in here. And of course, Brian's sitting right at the bottom of the gap here. And every day it's just pissing me off. It won't give me a fill.
Come on, baby, you can do it.
But these are the kind of names that I'm in here buying. And I think they're fabulous deals in here. Absolutely. And here's the kick in the pants. If we just, we can look at this chart and, okay, are there any gaps to the upside that maybe should be filled in down the road? Summer, silly season, all that kind of nonsense. Just on first blush, I do see this gap sitting right here. And so, even if Bitcoin loses 50% of its value, which would be a big drop, right? But this is 1,300 to 2,800. So that's almost basically a wash. But look how high this darn thing was. I mean, if we get any kind of rally up into these areas, then we're starting to talk, like 4x, 5x, 6x. Can you make money on these kind of names rallying and to test any of these highs? Is this going to happen over the next 6 months, year? Absolutely. And everybody should understand, I actually do expect Bitcoin to finish 2018 well north of $10,000 a coin, if not probably closer to $20,000 or $30,000 a coin. Everybody should fully understand that. So,
all right.
I guess the point that I would just make is there are a lot of very, very interesting places to put your money. And then, of course, the last thing I'll say here is if you don't like playing the long Bitcoin story, there are always proxies to play the short Bitcoin story. And this guy's been moving up really nicely. We got an absolute gift at TRI on this day. We had a whole bunch of stink bids working here. They all got filled on this day here. We're really lucky. But this guy, if Bitcoin is going to be trending down, well, this guy's going to be trending up. So there are ways to play this story and still make money.
Good deal.
Okay, now I'll shut up. Sorry.
Well, speaking of those potential opportunities, we have a fancy Carney wheel. Alex is the Carney that does the wheel here.
Yeah, I took the liberty of vetoing UBIC. I know you guys really want to see that chart up again, but we did it last time, so I want to make sure that we're not spoiling ourselves. So yeah, you guys see the wheel here?
Yes.
All right, let's give her a spin. See what comes on down. Zen. Oh man. Okay, this is the other coin that forked off of Z Classic. So I know everyone's pretty keen on Bitcoin Private, but Zen was.
So this is a fork of Z Classic, which is a fork of Zcash, right?
Well, it's a fork of the supply of Z Classic. I think it's still the same code base, but yeah, it's they basically reintroduced the founder's reward, and the guy who started Z Classic quit after a week of working on the project. So that should give you lots of hope for his current project, which is a fork Bitcoin Private.
Okay, well, I'm gonna forget all of that immediately after the show, but sounds
man,
good.
I mean, this is one of the more hilarious stories. Yeah, it's shitcoin 101. It's let's
What symbol am I supposed to be looking at?
Zen,
Z-E-N.
Zen.
Zen. Okay.
What exchange? What's your favorite? Probably Bittrex, huh?
Yeah. The Bittrex hosted the fork for them, so it's probably got the best volume. It's a little bit of a bloodbath, though.
Well, we'll start at the beginning. Once upon a time in a land far, far away. Something like that. And we got one site member, Ian. We actually, he and I had a long talk about this one day. I thought it was really enlightening. I used to work in the venture cap space in the stock market. We used to always say in the stock market, this kind of growth rate, when you see an asset go up this far, this is what we call too far, too fast. It's just unsustainable. And usually what ends up happening is the market has to give most of it back. And Ian was doing some studies. I've talked to you guys at length over the years about reload zones, 61.8 Mountain Man to a line in the sand, 78.6. And he was like, Brian, I've done a lot of back studying, and I found that, man, these alts, when they do this, they have to come back to 88.6. So we actually label this setup, especially if you have like market structure. Can you see how there's this cute little double bottom right there? Down, up, down, yes. Breakout. And the market comes back down to 88.6 right off of that original structure. We like to call that the leprechaun.
Leprechaun.
There's a name, eh? Okay. And how the heck did that start? Leprechaun.
Oh, VAR.
So, okay. We have a setup on the site, and actually, I remember I did this trade setup on Jumbox. Everybody remembers Jumbox.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I literally got like the low of the bar. It was just the most beautiful trade buying it. But we used to have this setup where if you get a 78.6 tag off a previous market structure, we called that shark setup. And then one of our site members loved it so much, and his name was Kevin, we renamed it the Kavark. And he's got a really cool little icon. Let's see if I can show you our Kavark really quickly. There he is. So if you ever see a chart with this on it, that's Kevin riding his chopper, the Kavark. And then we had Ian come along, and Ian's from Ireland. And he demonstrated and did all the back testing and showed everybody, and everybody's like, "Damn, that's some pretty good analysis you did there, Ian." And so now we have another setup that we've added to sort of the repertoire. If you can find market structure that develops off of the 88.6, and this is interesting because it'll bring it back against these lows. We like to call that the leprechaun. So kind of a fun.
I like
it. And if anything, guys, that's what we want to do here, right? Is we want to try and trade setups. We want to try and remove the emotion from this whole game because, you're risking your hard-earned money. This is anxiety central if you don't know how to handle yourself. So, if we can come up with setups and we can come up with names with them, then it disarms the whole investing process. And that's half of what I do in our community and why people take our education programs. Is what we really want to do is we want to remove the anxiety from the process. So, if we can have fun, disarm this, we've got market structure, we've got 88.6, and then if we can go and put a nice fun little icon over top of the charts, then the whole process of going in and risking your money in the marketplace, we take the power away from those idiots that wear the masks and they're trying to fuck your brain over.
It's a little less threatening that way. I get what
you're hating stuff, right? What we do is we have fun with this. I'm trying to find our leprechaun icon, but I don't see it here. Oh, well, I'll have to show that to you another day. So levels, and I always start, people who are interested in learning how to trade, super important that you work with setups. What the hell is a setup? The most important thing we want to think about when it comes to setups is this idea of our 3 reasons for a trade. Try and come up with 3 unrelated reasons to justify risking your hard-earned money. You know, you can use fundamentals. I love Alex, man. He's the best. UBIC rocks. I want to be a part of the story. Awesome. That's fine. Fundamentals are awesome. Let's throw in unrelated reasons. So you want to use a fundamental. Alex is the best. He's the shit. Love UBIC. It's the future. Then you want to, if you want to go into TA, I love following this approach. Number 1, who can tell me what's the number 1 rule in real estate? Everybody must follow. Got to follow it. Number 1 rule.
Location.
Thank you, sir. So there's no reason in investing why it should be any different. Location is always critical to us. So at this point, coming into reload zones, location, we're not walking into traps anymore. Now, you know, Zen, the fundamentals, what I heard earlier from Alex, I don't know. So, you know, do your due diligence, right? Do they have a half-decent development team? Do they have a story? Do they have a new product, right? Are they, expanding into new markets, right? So, definitely do your own due diligence. If this thing passes your fundamental screening criteria, then I like the idea of going through this simple process of what are my reasons. I just told you about Leper Kavark. There is our Kavark. I don't mind location. I actually look at this, and to be perfectly honest with you, OBV doesn't look too bad here. I don't see a mass rush exit, and I see this a lot in this space right now, is a lot of these names are not selling off because people are panic dumping them. They're just selling off because there's just a lack of buying interest right now. And that makes sense. It totally makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. Seasonally, is there a particular time of year that people get excited about altcoins?
It's the summertime.
That's right. So here we are in March. It doesn't surprise me that a lot of these names, you go through sheets of these, and it's not like it's a massive exit, mass rush. It's just things have just gone very quiet in this space. And frankly speaking, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, these prices are ridiculously high. So if you believe in the fundamental story, I'm not going to touch that today. But if you believe in the fundamental story, then we go into our find setup. Location, number 1. Great. Okay, we're getting location signals. I encourage people to then go on to number 2. Try and get some sort of indicator confirmation that, hey, maybe price is stronger than what price would lead you to believe. And for those people that are interested, we teach various different divergences, studying techniques. And here I can see we have a potential bullish divergence trying to form. It's potential right now. And we can also see, if we look back in time, we actually see that at the present, we still have a bearish divergence that is still at play. So, on location, great, we're coming into that area. I'm not going to walk in and I'm walking into a trap. But we're stalled right now because our indicators are actually still suggesting weakness. How does that change? Well, let's get our indicators to put in nice W's here. We get our indicator to put in a nice W here. Then we can start saying, hey, we've got momentum divergence. Dav became famous on our site because he loves devos, which are basically nothing more than show me market structure in oscillators like Williams percentage R and oscillators like OBV at the same time. If you can show me that, then I get super excited about momentum. I don't see that right yet. Right? What I see is We just put in an M and an M. So there's no reason for us to even be thinking about divs just yet. The one good part about this, and this makes complete sense, is we teach this concept called overbought and oversold. And I built this tool years ago to try and help me identify overbought and oversold. And when our moving average on our Willy indicator gets into the oversold zone, like it is here, then I like to call this the market is now officially stupid. Being stupid isn't necessarily enough of a reason to be a buyer unto itself, but it definitely tells me, and it makes sense, don't go and fucking sell this coin here. You're way, way, way too late. So the fact that the market is stupidly oversold, the fact that we are in potential trade location, I want to see signs of divergence come in and confirm. And then, last but not least, once we get our divergences confirmed, then I want to see some sort of structure in price. And of course, Brian loves his W's. So you can see, everybody watching this right now, you can see we're, way, way, way too late to be a seller. And we're still a little too early to be a buyer technically. That's probably how I would look at this right now. I don't know. What do you think, guys? Does that help the public?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're using 88.6 across the board now, hey? That's the new magic number?
Well, I would just simply say, make it a rule, public. Don't go and buy these unless you have a really solid, like trend continuation kind of pattern, 3 higher lows working with. Sets up what I call a bot setup. I showed you the bearish bot on Bitcoin. We also have to ask ourselves too, what's the market state?
Mm-hmm.
Like last in any time over the fall, the market was just in face rip up market state. So as a result, you're able to be less critical in your decision making process.
And how much does the public put into this particular asset?
Right. If anything, what I'm telling the public now is we are in a coin pickers market. We used to, like last year, we were in a market where all, boom, what's happening here? We'll look at that later. Last year, we were in that market state where a rising tide lifts all boats. You guys ever heard me say that before? A rising tide lifts all boats? We're not in that kind of market state anymore. I definitely think we are in a coin pickers market. So go and find your good fundamental stories. That's critical, number one. Then really hunt your technical setups. This is the kind of market that we're in. And what's fascinating, like guys like Joshua on our site, who really can work these gaps, 88.6 against previous structure, 78, really, I might argue anywhere in this neighborhood here, we can start getting super excited, right?
I have to add too, sorry to cut you off, Brian, but just having been through a bear market and a bull market with you, it's kind of exciting to be back in the bear market knowing that the bull market will eventually come back.
Yeah.
This stuff. It's just a matter of patience, really.
Yeah, well, see, and like when I get
when we first went through it, I was a little skeptical, back in the day when it was, because we kind of started out in a bear market for the most part. And, I was still a little skeptical until the bull really started. And it's cool to be back to the bear so we can see it happen again. But
yeah, like this is, parallels, and I don't mean to beat up your buddy because he's such a sweetheart. But people who bought Bitcoin at like 17, 18, 19,000, they're like Rob who bought Litecoin at $30, right?
Right.
He eventually did get his money back. And the cool part about it is that this is I like to call it as built-in inflation. The community likes to say it's built-in deflation. But the long and short of it is these prices, as long as the story keeps its act together and everybody keeps their nose clean and they don't fuck up, these coins are basically, I don't want to say guaranteed, but you have a pretty high assurance that they will keep moving higher over time because of the halvenings and all that. You know, POS, POW, obviously there's issues around that. But, you know, POW coins, I think that they basically, you know, just like Rob, if you buy one of these cycle peaks, you just got to sit there and be patient. And the next cycle peak, you know, I think, Alex, you like to call this, I would say right now, we are now firmly in the developer cycle, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Look, this summer is when a lot of ICOs that are actually working on stuff will, you know, be, you know, doing their betas, and then we'll start seeing them maybe in the fall or even early next year. But like the projects that didn't have a developer to build anything, that they're still shopping around, they're going to be losing money with you know, Bitcoin going down or Ethereum going down. Their ICO funds are losing right now.
Right.
So it's good to see, you know, this kind of cleaning out of the wasteful products.
Well, and actually, that's a great reminder, because you remember I told you about the guy in the Senate hearing this morning, wherever the hell his picture is, and he even made the direct reference to pets.com. He was telling the representatives, right? He's saying, you know, pets.com, it's the same thing. You can't look at cryptocurrencies like they're all painted with a bad brush. It's just like the .com days. You know, if pets.com had a web address, they raised like $200-300 million, and then they went and blew it on hookers and cigars. And, you know, the long and short of it here is, if you had painted Amazon.com with the same paintbrush as pets.com, well, you're an idiot. Obviously, Amazon.com controls half the fucking world now. So I would argue the same thing. And there's an interesting parallel that you mentioned there, Alex, because that makes perfect sense. Because it was the fall of 2000 that was the cleaning out in the .com days. The market gave these companies through 2000 the window to perform, and then when they didn't start performing in the fall of 2000, that's when they really got taken apart. So actually, I see a huge parallel there now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm talking way too much. Alex has turned his screen off and he's put the wheel back on. That's got to be my cue. Brian, shut the fuck up.
I think we got time for another coin here. The audience is getting restless.
Sorry.
No, it's all good, Brian. You're doing a great job.
Nobody's getting restless. He's just giving you a hard time.
All right. Actually, I tell you what. Why don't Dav? Do you want to do the next coin?
Sure, I don't mind.
Can you put the price chart on yours?
Adore.
I can bring up a price chart. Yeah, hang on a second.
Harder.
Let me just.
Because actually, I have to pee, so this would be a perfect segue.
There you go.
Too much tomato. Too much clamato.
Yeah. Well, you got anyway. All right. So I will listen. Dav, tell us what's on your mind.
DR. Let's see here. I think I have some of this coin. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. See, what I did here. You can see some of my sell orders here, because I stopped taking it off, and I decided, you know what? I have a lot of these coins, and I decided to just dump them all because it was just way outside the Bollinger Band, and I knew that this was not going to continue going higher, right? I mean, that's just not going to happen, right? Because it was delisted first. Right?
They were doing an airdrop, so yeah, Trek shut down the wallet for a little bit to sort out the airdrop, so that's why it's turned off for a little bit. Or no, maybe it was a network swap or something. There was something going on. It wasn't a delisting, but it was. They took the market down for kind of a fundamental event.
What had happened on this sell order here? This was one of my sell halves on a double order right here, and then. This other sell order was, okay, well, wait a second. You know, I came in to take a look at this. This thing was going way too high. I'm going to dump all these coins, right? It went a little bit higher, but who cares? And I rebought all the coins that I dumped here back down here, right? But this was my official buyback on the coin. So these coins that I bought back here were just the coins that I dumped way up here, because I'm a sell. I've already made a ton of money in this coin. I'm sure if I go through my chart that I've already like cleaned up, and I've decided I was gonna buy, because this went way too high, too fast, like as Brian would say. I knew that, it has to come all the way back down to the bottom. So I decided, to buy in this little area here where there's a lot of traffic, right, at the bottom of the market. And that's where I made my major buy. Now, as you can see, I'm going to be selling half on a double here. And then once that hits, right, I've got the stop loss thing happening here, because that's how I'm doing it now, because of Bittrex is they cut off the.
Yeah, Bittrex doesn't allow you to keep orders open for too long, basically. So
yeah, I'm hearing echo, and it's a little bit of a distraction. That's why.
Oh, let me.
Do you hear an echo from Dav's microphone?
I think it was from Will, so Will just muted.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there we go. Now the echo's gone. So, anyways, yeah, I bought back down here, and it turns out to be not bad as an investment, as you can see. The market has gone down a little bit lower than where I thought to buy, but who cares? I mean, I'm not buying way up here, right? where the public was buying. I'm buying way down here where everybody's thinking, oh, this is crap, this is going to zero, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, right? So that's all I'm doing really with my little old lady strategy. I might do the fibs, but when it does these phase rips, I'm like, okay, forget it. It's coming all the way back down, right? I don't even bother doing a fib, right? But when it does a face rip, right? So that's why I buy right back where the market started again when it does a face rip, right? So what do you think about that, Brian?
I mean, as long as you just don't take too much of a bite, I really don't have a problem with that.
It's a pretty good.
That's the whole sort of nibbles kind of thinking.
Yeah, I got 1% of my portfolio on there, so it's not too bad. Well, less than 1% actually. It was like 0.5%.
What's so weird about this space, and really I've seen this in capitalism for years, is we'll go through like a 2 or 3 month bear grind. Yeah, everything's going to zero. It's off the board. See you later. And then all of a sudden, boom, just out of nowhere, the market will just jump right back up. So, frankly speaking, I wouldn't have a problem if somebody was interested in the name. Just simply go and take a little nibble. I mean, we don't have any W's yet, so got to cool your jets. You can kind of see how she double you all through here, right? So this is the kind of action I'd like to see for us to know that the next run is getting ready. I also do like the idea of think of the market as like a saucer. So can you kind of see the saucer bottom here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You never know how these things are going to play out, whether it's going to take a lot longer or not. But you can kind of get a feel at the market's cadence, right? And we'll know that this bottom is in. She's ready to rock and roll when we start, making higher highs and higher lows and start climbing the wall of worry again. So, again, not a lot of hurry. We're coming into the seasonally friendly window. If you can just back the truck up and just slowly accumulate, I think you never know. You're probably 1 in 10 names are going to go off the board. And you just got to live with that. But the irony of it all is if you had a rally, we're not even going to ask for new highs. All we're going to ask for is price revisits these candle body highs. That's 3x, right? That means you could go buy like 3 of these. 2 of them could absolutely just die and it's game over. And 1 of them works and you break even. I mean, that's the kind of, it is interesting. On this site, we were throwing around some documentaries. The level oneers are watching documentaries on Paul Tudor Jones. And he's always talking about asymmetrical risk. Here, Dav, perfect example. If I go and throw $1 at this, can everybody see that asymmetrically, we got a pretty good chance of making $3. Maybe this thing goes to 0. But if I'm better than 33% right, which I kind of want to be better than 33%, But even if I'm only 33% right, I break even. And this is this whole idea of asymmetrical risk. If you go and buy up here, then to get this kind of risk reward means that I got to see this thing go to like the moon to actually see that 3-to-1 risk reward, which is not really realistic. We really want to try and make these risk reward ratios where all we're doing is we're just asking for a test of technically appropriate levels. And, you know, wicks and tails like to be eaten. Could we see sometime over the summer that level traded to? Sure. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't know. Does that help?
Definitely. I mean, I'm sure it helps everybody that's watching our show today.
I hope so. I never know whether my shit helps people or not.
Quite a few folks watching too, Brian, right now.
Say that? Sorry?
Can you hear me? I said quite a few folks are out there watching right now.
Oh, that's good. All right, everybody. Build your trading plans. 3 reasons for a trade. All right, don't take too much risk. Damn it!
I think they can
blow yourself up.
Still hear you if you're yelling or talking normal. But
yeah, 0.1%, 0.5% of your portfolio. Nothing more than that on all these risky alts, please.
And even then, that's going balls deep, right? I like your attitude of maybe 1-2% kind of idea. And then that way, if the thing sits in the shitter for a while, you can always add 0.5%, add 0.5%, add 0.5%, right? But the bottom line is you are never, ever, ever allowed to break that 5% number. Ever. Just don't do it. Right? And you'll make lots of money down the road. So.
You guys think we got time for one more coin, one more spin?
I think so.
All right.
You guys up for it?
Am I talking too much?
Brian, you were talking just the right amount.
Yep.
Exactly. Always.
All right. Round and round she goes. Wherever she stops. Oh, BNB. Let's see where the Binance coin is at.
Well, so Binance, as you guys, I don't know.
Yeah. Coinigy doesn't like BNB right now. Though, right?
Outside of those issues, I mean, they did just announce that they're working on a decentralized exchange, which is pretty cool.
I love that.
I don't know if that's really like a serious project or if that's more just like a hedge against centralization aspect or regulation, but it's pretty cool to see. So,
what do we want to look at this thing versus?
Well, I'm curious to see if it affected their stock price, quote unquote.
You might want to look at it versus BTC, Brian. The only other thing would be US dollar, but yeah.
I was talking with somebody yesterday about this, putting some fun tweets out. You know, I was joking yesterday with somebody on Twitter where I was like, where the hell is it? Because I've actually been very interested in this. I love this story because what's so ironic about all these politicians and this clown here is they are all thinking about crypto as it can't evolve. And I've always made the argument that, and you guys probably remember this. I know I've talked to you about this, Alex. I've talked to you about this, Will. I've talked to you about this, Dav, all of you guys. If you are going to come up with an Achilles heel for crypto, it is these centralized exchanges. That's the problem.
The on-ramps.
And in essence, as soon as we get rid of this Achilles heel, crypto's unstoppable. You're not going to be able to get in front of this thing. And the irony of it all is this clown here and those political clowns that we listen to in the SEC and stuff today, and they don't understand how close crypto is to actually letting go. I mean, why the fuck you're not going to need a KYC if you have a decentralized exchange. It doesn't exist. It's meaningless.
But on the other side, if you have a decentralized exchange, how are you going to convert your existing fiat into crypto?
Because then there will be something like Tether that comes out, right? It may not be good, but people will still use it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment on that. What I'm just going to simply comment on is if we get to the point of decentralized exchanges, then all this KYC stuff and all that, it just evaporates.
Yeah, you're right. We transcend all of that noise.
Yeah. So it's almost funny that the politicians they're going to figure that they have this whole thing figured out. Oh, we just passed this regulation, we passed that regulation, we're good, right? So I find it really amusing that Binance here is coming along and they are literally like leading the charge on this. And I think it's long overdue. We've been waiting for a couple of years now for this. So is it a finished product yet? No. And, are the regulators going to try and put the muzzle on this? We'll see. But if there was a solution to the impasse that we're at right now with these centralized exchanges, it's this DEX. Now, with regard to this coin in particular, I thought it was really interesting because I had put out some charts and such, and I was having some interesting conversations. I actually put out yesterday, I had said, don't you just absolutely hate it when you pull up a price chart and the levels are so bloody obvious? It's just like, why the fuck didn't I buy this thing? And this is this whole concept of the reload zone within a reload zone. This is like the most no-brainer trade you could possibly find. And I was just kicking myself that I didn't buy this yesterday. I was just so pissed off at myself. But anyway, the interesting thing about this, though, is this is versus US dollar, right? This is sort of versus currency. And like I said, if these guys can reinvent the wheel, there's just going to be such a massive flood into these guys. It's going to be unstoppable. And what's really interesting is if you actually, I'll do this as a fun assignment. Somebody come up with a price target, draw a trend line off of this peak, and tell me what price. When's our sort of silly season for crypto? Middle of, July, August, September kind of thing, right? That's when most insane. Tell me what price is going to intersect with that time period off of this trend line. And the number is it's pretty shocking. It's a hefty multiple of what we're at now. So again, this is sort of asymmetrical risk. Is the potential reward of this trade working substantial enough to justify risking a buck on this thing? And I think it is. Versus Bitcoin is a little bit different though. And I apologize, it's taking me forever to get there. But somebody had asked me, and said, what are you thinking? We were talking a bit about this, and my response versus Bitcoin was that I think that the actual trade setup, I think there was a trade that was set up off of that news yesterday. The whole thing felt completely manufactured. And what was really interesting is if you pull up the chart versus Bitcoin, what we see was it was basically a textbook 2-to-1 risk reward setup off of a nice DAV. Would you get a nice little DAVO here? W, I don't know that you can see that. Volume
I don't see a DAVO there.
Now I get a nice bullish MACD divergence developing through here. Higher lows on the MACD, lower lows in price. Nice little pop up through the middle right there. Willie is stupid, so technically you shouldn't have been a seller here anyway. And I found it incredibly coincidental that the absolute perfect numbers off of this and a tag of the 50% level, which is our very normal sort of mean, if you will, a return to the mean, tag of the POC, everything lined up to produce this perfect 2-to-1 risk reward setup. And this is like a trader's trade. So I'm leery about chasing this, and I certainly wouldn't buy any of it here. But I'm going to work reload zone bids, and you can see I already have the levels already predetermined, and we work our way right back down into this reload zone. I'll be more than happy to go and pick some of this up. It's a really interesting story.
Yeah, like the Binance itself is a very interesting exchange, and even though they're not decentralized yet, like they're still, I guess, giving the slip to regulators. Because when I first spoke with them, they were based in Hong Kong, and then I think they moved to South Korea. Now they're hiring people for their office in Taiwan, so they're clearly shifting around a fair bit to kind of skirt regulators, and not having a traditional fiat on ramp is probably helpful for that. They're not really dealing with any traditional banking, mainly just Tether. But
well, it's this the BNB though. That's sort of their like ammunition, right?
well, yeah, like you get reduced trade fees if you use it, and now it sounds like they're going to build more functionality into it. But one thing to remember is like if you were say wanting to invest in the company Binance, is like because they have this token, they have to garner like 4 times as many fees to have the same amount of profit that something like Bittrex has. Like their fund dollars are kind of a loan that they've taken from their consumer that they're paying back over time with usage. Like they pre-sold their fees.
They're undercutting their competition to try and grab market share, right?
Yeah. Like it's definitely cheaper to paint volume on Bittrex, but or on Binance than something like Bittrex. But you got to realize like that's affecting their volume. Like you can't say they're the top volume exchange if they're providing discounts for their token users and stuff like that. They're fudging the numbers slightly.
Why can't you?
It's the same as like something like OKCoin. Like OKCoin was recently called out as they're basically as no one.
Well, they had like zero fees though, right? Like these guys, they're pretty straightforward with their fee structure.
Yeah, but there's definitely I think some volume bots going on there, like because the architect behind OKCoin is actually the guy who runs Binance now. Like OKCoin was his first exchange, and he's taken that as a template to build like an altcoin exchange now. So it's you can't knock those tactics or expect that those tactics didn't carry over to this new platform.
Okay, so the question really here then is, can we make money off of trading these kind of setups? I think so.
Oh yeah, like
does BNB itself, is Binance, like the irony of it all is, can anybody invest in Bittrex?
No, I don't think so. Like
you can't, right? So no. I do understand. Can you invest in OKCoin? You can't really, can you?
I don't think they have a token, but
can you invest in Poloniex?
If you're buying BNB, are you really buying into Binance though? I mean, are you really investing in Binance?
I don't think so. I think it's just a trading vehicle.
Right.
No, but they could change it. They could change that at any time, right? They could start going, okay, we're going to give you dividends. They can do whatever they want, right? Because it's a coin, it's a cryptocurrency. And if it works like a cryptocurrency, they can do that.
How does the gas system work? Because I hear people always talking about gas. Could they do something similar to gas?
I'm wondering if you're hearing about Neo. When you run or you hold Neo in an online wallet, like an exchange would, you're receiving gas for having that. So someone like Bittrex isn't crediting their users with that, but Binance, one of their selling points is that they are.
So gas. I've programmed with Ethereum. And Ethereum gas is just basically the fuel to pay for those smart contracts. So if the contracts run on the global system, you got to pay the computer systems for running your contract. So you're paying them with the gas fee per like instruction, right? So that's where the gas comes in for Ethereum, but I don't know about the EOS.
It's apples and oranges.
Yeah, isn't it something different on?
Yeah. I was just curious. Sorry, guys. I like the Binance story. If they can create this decentralized exchange and they have lower fees than everybody else, I could very easily see beat a path to your door, right? Build a better mousetrap. It is interesting, Alex, you point out that they're sort of playing the regulatory hopscotch. So maybe they're going to locate in the Seychelles or something.
My question would be is if they're doing, if they're changing over to a decentralized exchange, how can they ensure that they are in charge of that decentralized exchange? It's going to be this constant pull back and forth. It could turn into a completely different beast at some point if it's truly decentralized. I don't know the answer to that.
They can't do what they did 2 weeks ago or last week, where they reversed a bunch of trades.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You can't break the API and just turn off trading for 2 weeks.
Who knows where Phoenix is registered now? Didn't they used to be out of Hong Kong?
I thought they still were, but they just can't accept U.S. customers.
Somebody told me today that they're registered out of the British Virgin Islands, and I was like, what?
Well, actually, I think Binance is as well, from what I saw recently.
Huh. Alex, do you know that? Do you know that?
Bitfinex also has Ethfinex too, so they've kind of been getting into the decentralized space as well.
Yeah, a lot of them are they're kind of hedging their bets, or they're wanting to build or share liquidity with a decentralized system.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, like, people can trade from their wallets, but they're technically still trading with the order books that are available on like Bitfinex. But this is all because one of the major protocols is kind of open sourced their code for building a decentralized exchange on top of a token. So 0x is the protocol
and everything.
Yeah. So like, and that's something like we're wanting to build on Ubiq. So we'll borrow the same code, and we'll build the functionality onto like the Ubiq or the one of our tokens. So it's a way of doing it. It's just a matter of which one gains enough critical mass to become popular enough. Like Ether Delta was the first kind of decentralized exchange, and it really sucked. It was a terrible experience, but it had volume, and volume brings volume. So, yeah, it really just who can kind of crack that nut of trading on chain with enough volume that they become worthwhile. And I think there will be opportunity for like liquidity sharing between like order books of these decentralized exchanges. So it's very interesting if they're all building with the same standard. They can all kind of work together.
Could I ask you guys a question? Does anybody know, is Phoenix or is actually, you should know this, Alex, because your buddy Bill runs the place. Is Bitrex actually accepting new accounts?
Yeah, currently you have to go to one of their blog posts where you can sign up to get an account. So it's kind of, they haven't turned on the old system yet, but they are accepting like a wait list right now. So they are processing.
And
people.
Polo's basically toast too, eh?
Well, Circle, I think, bought up.
Circle actually released their new mobile app, I guess.
If somebody actually wanted to buy into this space, where do they have to go? Because like Trex and Polo are no longer an option.
Well, I'll take this opportunity to show one of my other partners, Einstein Exchange. It's a Canadian exchange here that I guess they're not accepting U.S. customers just yet, but they are open to Canadians and a bunch of other countries in the world, as long as they're not like on a sanctions list or anything like that. But yeah, they're trying to be like the next kind of registered exchange.
What's does you follow these guys well?
First I've heard of them, I think, unless Alex has mentioned it in the past. But
they're currently in beta, so it's like they've been around since like September. They've been signing people up, but yeah, it's still a very new exchange. They're using the Alpha Point matching engine.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have a ways to go. I mean, it's going to be a while before they're like a big player. They're definitely low on the list. Bitrex, they're going to have, I guess, their fiat being turned on soon, and that will probably include their original accounting system being opened up again. Yeah, and so fiat is coming to Bitrex. It's been coming for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that for
a long time, eh?
Yeah,
you guys heard of any sort of Tether alternatives? Wasn't there one that was just recently launched, a Tether alternative?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. TUSD, Trust USD. So there is now a different synthetic US dollar token that is trading on Bitrex. I think it only has a basic Bitcoin pair, but
is that this thing? Trust? Is that what this thing is? Or is that something
No,
else?
it's TUSD. Yeah.
Sorry, what was
I've
the
seen it
symbol?
around. I wasn't aware of what it was. That's interesting. So, do you know any of the kind of selling points on it, Alex? Like, why is it better than Tether? I mean, outside of all the reasons Tether is bad, but
yeah, transparency. I think that they're definitely under a thicker microscope. It's Ari Paul, I think, is the guy behind it.
oh, okay, Block Tower.
Yeah. So it's got definitely a lot more, for lack of a better word, trust behind it.
Right.
But
What's the
yeah,
symbol? Sorry?
TUSD.
TUSD.
Yeah, real original, huh?
Well, I didn't like this. Oh, actually, that's not doing bad.
Yeah, so they can print, I think, 300K of it a day, like based on like what deposits they get. But that's a pretty low maximum. So like it's going to be fairly illiquid for a couple months until they get enough deposits that it has a reasonable market cap. But I mean, it's nice to have an alternative to Tether.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know whether you could trust something that looks like this though. That looks like train wreck.
You know, probably a year from now, we're going to have 30 synthetic US dollar.
That would be good.
Yeah.
You know, so
I
you
mean,
just
just-
spread the jelly out.
Yeah, Brian, it looks like that chart's got a $0 trade on it. So I'm not too sure.
Did we pick up on that somehow?
Yeah.
Well, you know, isn't that how these things usually?
I will get that corrected.
All right.
Unless it was actually officially reported to us, which has happened.
But isn't this thing? Well, maybe it's moving up because Bitcoin's moving down. But shouldn't this thing kind of flatline?
No, like yeah, it's trading opposite to Bitcoin. It looks like the pair is inversed. So
Yeah, you'd have to see like TUSD against USD to see the flat line theoretically. I don't know where.
Okay.
I don't think if that's supported. Oh no, then that's just Bitcoin USD.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm always looking for ways to diversify. So thank you for that, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do when they add traditional fiat pairs. If they're just gonna dump all the Tether pairs and then just have a couple synthetic US dollars. But yeah, that's one of the big questions for when they.
The IRS will love that, right? Because if they just like mandated if you own Tether, you instantly now get converted to USD, then instantly IRS goes cha-ching.
Yeah, Tether is technically an altcoin. Yeah, like I think it qualifies for crypto to crypto trades. So it's.
I have a question about Bitfinex. I mean Bittrex. If they are accepting US dollars, they're doing US dollar pairs, actual US dollar pairs. Then they have a problem with the regulatory bodies in the United States. Because
that's why it's taking them, because they've been working with their lawyers for like 2 years trying to make sure that they're covered as much as possible. Like if you go back in time, I think it was on Twitter, like Bill or Richie or one of them were pasting just these stacks and stacks and stacks of paperwork when they were inking their stuff.
Yeah,
so
getting their MSB licenses and stuff.
Yeah. There's just so much involved. It takes forever, and I'm sure every time they think, all right, we're finally at the finish line, they'll get an answer from, some judicial body or some lawyer will say, you didn't dot this I.
Yeah. You have to do this on all 50 states as well.
Yeah.
Because.
Well, I don't know. We've researched that pretty extensively on our end, and generally speaking, there's like, I want to say it's like 27 or 30 states. That's usually how you start. They're all kind of under the same similar case law. So if you can nail that first, then you work on the edge cases outside of it.
Like Hawaii.
Or we all just move to Wyoming.
Right. Yeah. or Delaware. Hi. I'm in.
Or Chile. Let's all go crash a dab.
Well, anyways, guys, I think this is probably a good segue to wrap her up. What do you think?
I don't know. Does anybody? I hope somebody got some value out of my rants today.
Yeah, you got to start opening up the chat, Brian, during this.
Opening up the chat?
Yeah, it's just scrolling by.
Oh, good. So people are enjoying the presentation today?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I don't think you ever really see that. So yeah, there's a lot of people interacting during the show. So
Well, because then somebody says something mean, and then I get all derailed.
yeah, we're pretty good. There's a pretty good group of guys and gals watching here. So
Right.
actually, surprisingly so.
Yeah, spirits are surprisingly high still.
Yeah, wait a couple months.
I saw not so fast guy. He's getting really beat up.
Yeah,
and I felt really badly for him because this is now the environment, right, where the people that are late to the party, they're going to start like ankle biting and stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So in a weird sort of way, what's really cool about the TRI environment is hopefully we get everybody, not chasing and not buying tops and making sure risk management. So we don't really have to go through that in our community, and people actually really like the low anxiety of our community. Mm-hmm. But I can completely understand, and I see it happening, people that actually have to deal with the public who don't really understand how to invest, don't really understand how to manage risk. It's ugly, and it's going to get uglier.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I hope I was of value to the public. Where is the camera? There you are. I hope I was able to help you today. Take it easy, and best wishes for you.
Right on. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Keep sending me t-shirts. I haven't gotten any in a while.
I suppose I should say, if you do want to learn how to do this, we now have a very robust community with like over 75 level 3 graduates. David is a graduate of our program, and I think he would serve pretty well. Really, we have an excellent community. Next term starts up in May. And if you really want to learn how to do this, people, like seriously, I'm here to help you guys. We keep the prices really, really low so that everybody can learn how to do this in a nice, safe, secure environment. So if you really want some help and you really want to learn this as a professional, just reach out to us. We're here to help you. Okay?
Right on.
Awesome.
Alex, anything you want to plug? Any new shows coming up?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and get a block talk out this Friday. We just had one last night, as I mentioned before.
See if you can do another one with that cabbage guy. That would be so cool.
We can get someone in a mask, I'm sure, and say it's him. Other than that, if you guys want to follow my project, ubixsmart.com, check out blog.ubixsmart.com for our last quarterly report that's got a list of all the fundamental events for the next year, so you can put those on your chart and have a good time.
You have like an updated list of the coins that you have under your umbrella now?
Yeah. So we have like about 9 tokens that trade with an actual value, and then one of the community blockers boards just showed like all the tokens, which has like the most ridiculous names. There's over like 100 of them, and they're like completely fun tokens or whatever.
Yeah, do they all have UTF-8 and like emoji symbols and stuff?
Not quite.
Because as a programmer, that's the bane of my goddamn existence. Implementing emojis in our database is always fun, like beer emojis and stuff.
Yeah, nothing quite that crazy, but no, yeah, it's good to see some of the community projects and people just using the chain. I mean, where's that list here? There's a pretty funny one somewhere down here. Yeah, if you want to come hang out in the Ubiq Discord, we're a great community where you can learn lots about the technical side of things, and there is a bit of a trading community. Oh yeah, here it is, the Ship Posters Club token. So
nice.
Yeah.
Are we all Ubiq? You're not allowed to call them coins. They must be called tokens.
Well, this is just semantics, but yeah, coins are like the underlying platform. Like you pay transaction fees in a coin, but then tokens are like hosted on platforms. Like
so anything that's going to be listed underneath Ubiq is going to be called a token.
Yeah, that's the proper vernacular, is to call it a token when it doesn't host its own network.
I'm gonna go create a coin token on Ubiq just to irritate everybody.
Yeah, go do it.
With emoji.
I'm gonna create a token called coin.
Emoji.
Or token coin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually building a Da Vinci coin as well.
Right on. Alex told me he was going to do a TRI coin one day. We never got around to
Oh, there's still possibility. Yeah.
So
the
is,
hell, why
is
not?
that your plug, Dev? Are you plugging?
Yeah, I'm plugging. Well, DaVinci Coin is going to be. Well, I'll talk about that another time. But anyways, you can find my website at DaVinciCode.net, and I also do YouTube videos from here and there at DaVinci J15 on YouTube as well. You can find me on Twitter at DaVinci J15. So you can check out all my trades there.
Right
There
on.
you go.
All right, guys. Well, it's been a blast, and I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Thanks everybody for watching. Like, subscribe, yada yada yada, and we will see you soon.
Everybody, play from a position of strength.